Andrea Gillies, and I'm here to talk about The White Lie, which is my first novel, although I've written a book before, which was non-fiction, which is called Keeper, and is part memoir of looking after someone with Alzheimer's, and partly an exploration into connections between brain and identity and memory and all that kind of interesting philosophical stuff. Right, my mother-in-law had been ill for a while, and she'd got to the middle stage, and we brought her up to live in a cottage near our house in the Highlands, which is where The White Lie is set, so I know the area. But she really wasn't coping, because the worst thing you can do with someone with middle-stage Alzheimer's is to move them, because she couldn't make new memories. It's not just about losing memory, it's about not being able to make memory. So she couldn't learn the new layout of the house or anything like that. So in the end, we were forced into a position where she either had to go into care or we had to do something else. And we decided, and this was a kind of madness really, to move to a 22-roomed house in Orkney by the sea and to take my in-laws in. And that was 2 years of an extraordinary experience. So I kept a diary of that time and recorded the conversations that we had as she moved into a more serious, phase of dementia, in which by the end she didn't even recognise her own reflection in a mirror. And that was the point at which there was really no option than she went into care, because living in a family home was making her more unhappy than she ought to have been. She was trying to relate to us all the time and couldn't do that because her sense of time had collapsed. And this is the sort of link between the two books is this idea not only of memory being a subjective thing, but also that time can collapse, and that a novelist can do the things that my mother-in-law was doing in her own head, which was to move from being 5 years old to 40 years old to 60 years old within the space of 2 hours, and to create her own world from those delusions that she had. So in a way, that's a sort of grounding for the life of a novelist, is living in that environment. It felt like the idea was delivered to me, which was a rather sinister thing to go through. I was sitting on a bus in the Highlands of Scotland, and we trundled past this old estate wall, and I looked through an overgrown garden to an old house and thought, the thought that I kind of register as being my own was, you could keep a secret a long time in a little world like that, a little enclosed world. And then the characters began to be delivered to me. A voice in my head said, it's about Edith and Henry, and they've kept a secret a long time, and now they have another thing to deal with, and it's all going to unravel at Edith's birthday party. And it did feel quite an external voice. So I rushed home, and in half an hour I'd written down the plot and the entire family tree of, I think it's 22 people, with their dates going back to 1860. Which is actually a rather odd thing to happen to a person. The book works it delivers chapter 1 to you, which is a definite account of what happened to Michael, who is 19 when he dies, and is the narrator of the book. So he's an omniscient, post-mortal narrator, and knows things that an alive person wouldn't. So it starts out by Michael, who's unhappy at home, leaving a note and supposedly running away. But his young aunt, his mother's sister, says that she killed him in a row on the loch on the estate. She's not a reliable narrator either. She's autistic spectrum perhaps, but undiagnosed. And then after that definite account of what happened, Ursula's account of what happened, and Alan, who is the gardener's son, corroborating Ursula's story of what happened, the following 23 chapters subvert and undermine that story over and over again, over 14 years, until finally you end up not only knowing what happened, but knowing how an earlier death of a child ties in. So it's a very complicated story, and actually probably far too complicated to take on as a first novel. I tortured myself with the plot. Yes, I was very interested in the moral ambiguity question. I mean, it's a straightforward page-turner in a way. I wanted to write a literary page-turner. That's my thing, I've discovered. I'm doing one again that's quite similar in its structure. And my interest is having something you really burningly need to know, which keeps you up till 2 a.m. turning the pages, but also to have beautiful reflective writing in it, and to get into the heads of the characters. And my interest was not really just in a straightforward kind of police procedural, which it could have been, but in how in 14 years a family constructs a version of events that is one it can live with, and how that might be undermined, and what the human cost of keeping a secret is. That's what interested me. I can't tell you how much I hate the idea of bookshops disappearing from our high streets. I think we all have a moral duty not to shop online. because it's about the marketplace, it's about gathering places for people, and it's about leafing through paper books, and there is no actual comparison online to doing that. You need to know what you're looking for, really. And what I really love about the bookshops I really love is that they're quite personal. They're run by people who know their stock and can say, well, if you love this, you'd also love this. And I really like the idea of having sofas where you can sit and read and no one will bother you, so that you can dip into things. And that's my idea of a great bookshop.